Many players in Roblox Jailbreak have recently been waiting for the brick car to finally receive a value on the Jailbreak trading network, and today we're going to discuss why the brick car's value is starting at a $3 million valuation. Unlike my previous video about the brick car, where I went much more in depth about its performance, stats, and overall driving experience, this video is primarily focused on comparing it to other previous seasonal limited vehicles, seeing exactly how it stacks up against them, analyzing the overall community reception to this vehicle, and giving you a very thorough and well-rounded explanation of its current value. But most importantly, we'll be reflecting on where this value is likely to stabilize in the upcoming weeks until Season 29. Roblox Classic officially ends on December 15th. Now, before we jump into the main topic, I wanted to make a quick channel announcement. Moving forward, there will be content posted much more frequently in this channel's community tab. The newest post, for example, was specifically asking for your opinions on what the brick car's starting value should be. This is something we're working on bringing back to add some more flair to our YouTube community. Ever since, about 8 months ago, we moved all of our YouTube polls and questionnaires about item values over to our Discord server, where anyone can participate in hourly community polls. That system has, of course, helped us maintain our reputation for having the fastest, hourly, and accurate value updates by letting the Jailbreak community vote for values they want. However, we've really been wanting to bring back some more novelty and interaction to the YouTube community section, so we're trying a slightly different direction. Things like asking the community what they'd like to see for the initial starting values of brand new limited cars, sharing predictions, and featuring top comments in our latest videos. With that in mind, in the most recent community post where I asked what you all thought the brick car's value would start at, I'm going to feature a few comments in this video from users who predicted closest to the starting value of 3 million. So, if you're new to the channel and want to stay updated on future videos like this, or even get a chance to be featured in upcoming ones, make sure to like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and check the community tab to participate in the future. A special shout out to everyone who replied the fastest and got spot on or extremely close with their predictions. You're all legends. Anyway, back to the topic. A lot of you might actually be surprised that the brick car isn't starting at some outrageous valuation like many other seasonal vehicles tend to do right at launch. That's why it's so important to explain why initial starting values can be drastically different between certain limited seasonal vehicles and others. In fact, this is exactly why I deliberately chose not to mention a specific value for the brick car in my previous review video. I wanted to explain everything here from the ground up so we're all on the same page. When a brand new seasonal vehicle is first added to Jailbreak, generally speaking, most players who didn't purchase the premium season pass immediately want to overpay massively to unlock it early. They do this so they can review it themselves for content, show it off to friends, or just flex that they have it before almost anyone else. However, it's already been a few days since I unlocked my own brick car, and for the serious grinders out there, it's been nearly a full week. That initial window of insane overpays is starting to close fast, which is the main reason we settled on 3 million as the starting value. That early hype period where people throw millions extra just to get it instantly is drying up. If you had somehow managed to get a brick car a week ago, I genuinely believe you could have easily gotten closer to 4 million, maybe even slightly more in trades before we even assigned an official value. As many of you know, we always wait a decent amount of time after a new limited drops to give everyone a fair chance to profit from those early overpays. But now that there are already a few thousand brick cars in circulation, it felt like the perfect time to lock in a fair and realistic starting value. One of the biggest reasons the brick car isn't holding those massive overpays for very long, as I hinted at in my previous video, is simply its performance. Don't get me wrong, it's not a terrible car by any means. I've driven it all over the map and it's perfectly usable. It's just not particularly special or standout compared to what we've seen from past seasonal vehicles. For example, let's compare the brick car's drag strip time to the Stallion, which costs only $200,000 in in-game cash. The results are exactly what you'd expect. The brick car does win, but it only beats the Stallion by a grand total of 3.76 seconds. When you stop and think about that, it's actually pretty disappointing. Most players are grinding daily contracts and XP for well over a month, especially if they didn't buy the premium pass, just to unlock the brick car. And in the end, it's only marginally better than one of the cheapest entry-level supercars in the entire game. Besides the La Matador, of course, which immediately comes to mind as another super affordable option, but is only marginally worse than the Stallion in several characteristics. Regardless, with the new robbery cycle update, earning $200,000 in a single hour is honestly not difficult at all if you hit every robbery efficiently. I've tested this myself while grinding seasonal contracts, and I was making $500,000 or more without even feeling like I was playing for that long. That's why I've always used the Stallion as my baseline reference vehicle when evaluating new seasonal cars. It's cheap, widely available, and gives a clear picture of whether a limited is actually worth the hype. Just for another comparison, let's bring in a slightly higher tier, but still very popular entry-level supercar, the Eclaire. Honestly, I wasn't 100% sure going into testing whether the brick car would be slower or faster than the Eclaire, but it turns out the Eclaire actually beats it by 1.36 seconds. That was genuinely surprising to me. The main culprit is the brick car's relatively low top speed of 250 miles per hour. If the drag strip were longer, I have no doubt the Eclaire would pull away even more dramatically, because it just keeps accelerating endlessly, whereas the brick car hits its cap pretty early. Most of you watching this probably already own an Eclaire, especially since it used to cost only $500,000 before the price was raised to $600,000 for balancing reasons. And it's widely regarded as one of the best performing vehicles in its price range. It absolutely destroys almost everything below it in both acceleration and top speed. So, to sum it up, this is exactly why the brick car is struggling to climb above the current $3 million valuation. The way it's balanced gives it pretty mediocre launch and initial acceleration, but then decent mid to high range acceleration, which unfortunately gets cut off way too early by that 250 miles per hour top speed cap. Personally, I tend to prefer vehicles with stronger initial launch because that's what you feel the most when driving around the city, making sharp turns, or recovering from stops. Interestingly, the brick car was originally going to have much better launch before it got nerfed, right before a lot of players started unlocking it. Now it has weaker launch but stronger mid to high gear acceleration, while top speed stayed the same. This shift actually creates some pretty different driving experiences. If you watched my Katana video from a few weeks ago, you'll remember that the Katana also wasn't a top speed monster, but it felt insanely fast because of its better initial acceleration, something you really notice when you're constantly turning or braking in either city. When I put the brick car head to head against the Katana on the drag strip, the difference was almost negligible, less than half a second. It really just comes down to personal preference. Do you want that instant burst off the line, or smoother, stronger acceleration in the higher gears? Because the brick car performs so similarly to the Katana, and the difference truly is just driving style preference, that's exactly why we've decided to give the brick car the exact same starting value as the Katana, $3 million. Now, whether it stays at $3 million or slowly drops over the next few weeks remains to be seen. There's still almost half a month left in the season before season 30 begins in mid-December, so supply will keep increasing, and that usually puts downward pressure on value. At this point, the only real reason to pick up a brick car would be for its unique design. Yes, it's clearly inspired by the McLaren F1, but it also has that classic OG Roblox blocky aesthetic. That sounds cool in theory, but in practice it means the hitbox is very wedge-shaped, causing it to get stuck on corners, curbs, and road bumps roughly 30% more often than traditionally curved vehicles. When you combine that with the fact that it's outclassed by the Eclaire, which I still consider one of the best starter vehicles you can buy with in-game cash, it really makes you question whether newer players should even be trading for the brick car at all. For most people, the answer is probably no. But as always, values can and do change. If you're interested in helping update the brick car's value down the line, or if you disagree with the current 3 million valuation, feel free to join our Discord community. We have daily polls where you can vote and suggest new values, and your voice actually makes a difference. That's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.